and the next topic is going to be presented by Tiago, so please.
My name is Thiago Tavares, I'm from Brazil, and I am a civil engineer specialized in transport. So, we are talking about transportation, young people using public transportation, and the ways that you can promote this. And for example, in June 2003, the Flemish government in Brussels, they have started a scheme where they are granting a subsidy to provide free public transportation for the students of the Dutch-speaking universities. And then there was a study performed by Macquarie and Lanoy, and in this study they found out that from the 19% of the students that had owned a car, and they decided, 66% decided to change to the public transport. And then, this study went further, and they also analyzed that the benefits from not having so much young people using the cars and driving, they also diminished the accidents, and so they have the external costs, and resulted in benefits that were exceeding the cost of the subsidy. So, having this in mind, what do you think? Do you think free public transportation is enough to really change the mentality of the young people and make them use more public transportation? Or which are the obstacles to be overcome in order to make it more attractive and influence the mentality and also the travel behavior of young people?
Yeah, that's a really interesting example. I think that this kind of giving the possibility of go for free to public transportation to these young people, it's a really nice idea. But the point is like the kind of transportation demand is not a direct demand. You use transportation because you need to go to another place. And since your housing choice and your university and work choice is a long-term thing, you have to think that maybe having all this demand, it's a supply, you need a supply-oriented policy to change this behavior. And that's true that like being free
Which is to say, like, because for our non-economists in the audience, can you explain that more, a supply-oriented policy?
Like focusing in providing a better service, because if people has to go from A to B, you have to introduce like nice ways to go from A to B. And it's related that having it free, but maybe it's cheap enough, and that's not the necessary thing, because of like the price is not that relevant when you have this kind of derived demand. And the point is there are some things that are changing, but it's really nice how like the use of smartphones are changing our behavior using public transportation. Yeah. And the people that used to read were used to go in public transportation because it was nice, but now the other people that they are not used to read, they use their smartphones in public transportation, and that's really changing behaviors.
Yeah. But we were talking about some interesting possibilities the other day. Obviously, the most obvious one, or the one that's the most cliche, is that the taxpayers should pay for it. Somebody is taxed for it, and then they pay for it. But what about sponsored transport? There's possibilities about that, or even as you have low-cost airlines, you could have low-cost public transport, or if you have the free model, for instance, the free newspaper that you get in the public transport, it pays itself. Would it be possible to have a public transport system that finances itself but is still free to the user?
I think there have some possibilities about like providing other services in public transportation that would help to finance this transportation. I know I'm thinking about giving for food or maybe books to read during the trip or something like that.
So what would be the business model then? I mean, how would companies or organizations make a living if you don't put? So you could have additional services, and then you get your revenue out of the additional service, and then it's free, or how do we?
But if we
how would that work?
If we think nowadays, many of the organizations, they pay for the transportation anyway. Some of the organizations, they pay for your daily transportation to go to work. Some give you company cars, and so they already are inside this. But I really don't think that only as a free transportation people use more. As you were saying, it's a different mentality. And so my question would be, and how can you change this mentality? Is there a way, or do you think the modal shift is already in a standard that cannot change anymore?
Well, that is the topic of the fifth question, so we will have more time to talk about mentality changes. But I have a question as well. There's a company in California, a tech company, that has buses for its employees, and actually it transports 1,200 people every day, allowing them to go on the internet, and it's actually work time because they are working as they travel, and being with their colleagues, and this is a free service. From your employers, like you might work for a small organization, but just imagine that you had this like bus that is paid by your employer. Would you take it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think
if it's better.
I mean, if it gets you to your work and to the places where you need to be quicker than an alternative.
Probably it's more fun to be with your colleagues, just talking. But I think that's a really nice idea.
Depends on your colleagues.
Exactly.
But I don't know. We have to learn for that. It's maybe a nice idea to apply to small towns or middle-sized towns, because this kind of towns they are not dense enough to provide a regular kind of public transport. But if you can provide this kind of buses, then you can apply it on the internet to go there, and you can design specific routes each day that could be more efficient, maybe.
If I could add something, but why can't you make internet in all the buses, you know? Because then, I mean, every time you're going to choose of going with the bus, and not only when you have to go to work. So if you make more attractive, internet is a very good way, like trains, when they have internet, you really, okay, I'm not going to take a bus, I don't have to take a train, even take a little longer, because I have comfort, and I can also use the internet.
Absolutely.
So, and this is a big competition with the car. Because with the car, you have to be all the time focused, you have the liberty, but you don't have these facilities.
No, that's true.
So maybe changing this idea that we have about the transportation can also be even more effective that you have free transportation, because you're willing to pay.
I think, if I can just add that from a societal perspective, I think you're completely right. All the time that you spend in a car is to a very large extent wasted time. You know, you're focusing on your steering wheel, trying not to overrun other people. And if you're on a train, you can actually work, you can read, you can talk to your colleagues, and that from societal perspective, that's much better invested time than time that you spend in congested areas.
Well, as long as capacity allows, of course, that is the issue. I mean, because that would be the one concern I can imagine. I don't know, but if you have to travel in a train that's completely packed and you don't even have a seat, then it doesn't matter if it has Wi-Fi, because you're not going to be able to work on it. But yeah, this is more food for thought. We have to unfortunately continue and round this up and go to the last topic.